Well, autism is a neurological difference. And the main symptom is being socially awkward, and some of the social circuits aren't hooked up in the brain, and you don't automatically do eye contact and pick up, subtle social cues. But the thing about autism is it ranges from the heads of Silicon Valley companies, like Steve Jobs, Edison would be labeled autistic today, Einstein had no language till age 3, to somebody who can't dress themselves. And over the years, they keep changing the guidelines. I'm not even going to call it a diagnosis. I'm going to just call it a guideline. And it used to be at Asperger's where there was no speech delay, socially awkward, geeks and nerds. Autism, you had to have speech delay, which I had. I had severe speech delay, didn't talk until age 4. And the thing is, a person with autism has to learn social skills like learning how to act in a foreign country. You've got to be taught. You see, this is the other thing. We need to expose kids to a lot of different careers because it's just as important to find out what you hate and then also find out what you like. I was just up in Crookstone, Minnesota, and I was talking to some people up there, and there was a boy who had autism, and a high school teacher thought to give him a book on astrophysics. He became an astrophysicist, but you have to be exposed. I'm a complete, total, absolute visual thinker. Everything I think about is in pictures. That helped me in my work with animals, because the first thing I started doing in working with cattle was to look at what they were seeing when they were going through chutes. They'd stop at shadows, they'd stop at chains hanging down, they'd stop at coats hung on fences, things that most people didn't notice. And then you might have another person who's the pattern thinker, the mathematical thinker. See, there's kind of two specialized thinking. There's the object visualizer like me, thinks in photorealistic pictures. And then there's the more mathematical pattern thinker, also called a visual spatial thinker. And there's scientific research now that shows very clearly that these two kinds of thinking are different. But I'm concerned that our educational system is screening out these super clever visual thinkers, and we need them. And the one place where you can do just fine without a college education is high-end skilled trades. And that would be all the mechanics. That would be airplane, auto, and truck. Fixing large mechanical stuff in factories, plumbing, electrical, power distribution, and welding where you can read drawings and make things. Those skilled trades are not going away. The kind of jobs that are going to go out are low-level and high-level jobs that take narrow knowledge. Accounting, I can see a lot of that stuff going out. Low-end legal stuff, disputes over rent. Already in South America, they're using artificial intelligence on low-level legal stuff. You're still going to need the Supreme Court on the complicated stuff. And then high-end knowledge jobs like radiology, endocrinology, oncology, I can see those going out and being completely replaced by computers. But that's not going to replace the teacher, the nurse, the pediatrician, the physician's assistant, that front person. It's not going to replace high-end skilled trades. See, I've made a point in my talks now to go across the silos. I jumped on the chance to do this, to talk to the high school kids. And then I'll go out to, I've been to Microsoft, I've been to Google, and I've talked to them. Then I go to an autism meeting. And I'm seeing too many people get too much inside the autism box. Autism is an important part of who I am, but it's secondary to career. And I think that's important. Stephen Hawking, just before he died, said, concentrate on the things that your disability doesn't prevent you from doing well. And the one thing that Stephen Hawking could do well was geometric math in his head. He couldn't write. But that's an example of working on something that disability doesn't prevent you from doing well. Doing visual thinking and design work, understanding animal behavior, my kind of mind, that's something that I can do well. Well, and I did a lot of things. I started out painting signs when I was in high school. And so freelance sign painting gradually morphed over into the designing cattle facilities. And I sold that by showing off the portfolio. The way I sold Cargill back in the late 80s on designing the front end of all their plants is I sent them a nice big fold-out hand-done drawing, because this is all pre-computer, some pages of pictures, a couple of trade magazine articles, a brochure, all real professional, and a cover letter. It was what I call 30-second wow. 30-second wow to show that work off. That's how I sold the jobs. People want the thing more than they want the management. Okay, we're going to get some new piece of technology. Maybe it's a rotary milking parlor or something like that. Or maybe it's some other piece of equipment in some factory. They want that thing that's going to solve all their problems. But you also have the maintenance. You have to have the maintenance. You've got to maintain that equipment. You've also got to install it correctly. You see, you've got to have both the management and the technology. Now, if I had a choice, what would I rather have in any industry? Older, adequate equipment, well-maintained, with superb management, or state-of-the-art with poor management? I'll take the older, adequately maintained equipment with a super good manager. One of the places we're going to need visual thinkers is in risk assessment. You see, I see risk. For example, the Fukushima nuclear power plant accident. The water came in from the tsunami over the seawall and flooded the basement of the reactor and drowned the electrically driven emergency cooling pump and the generators to run it. What I've learned about the mathematical mind is they don't see the water filling the basement. I see the water breaching the seawall, flooding the site, knocking the doors out, and Fukushima is an example of if there'd been a visual thinker there to say, hey, what about some watertight doors? Watertight doors would have saved it. Simple, old-fashioned watertight doors. You can go look at an old submarine movie. They're there. Simple things. Would have fixed it. Wouldn't have happened. But you see, the mathematical mind doesn't see it. You need both.